Hi, Danielle. Welcome to the High Vibration Living Podcast.
Hello, and thank you so much for having me.
It's such a treat to chat with you. I consider you one of the greatest astrologers right now that are communicating honesty and truth and how to use your chart and alignments to just improve our lives and balance our lives and not beat ourselves up so
Yeah,
much with the ebbs and flows of life. And
thank you.
so I'm really happy to have you on here because I really want to learn more about the style of astrology that you practice, who you've studied with, and how you've curated your craft.
Yeah, so thank you for that. I really appreciate that. I do astrology my own way. I taught myself astrology. Somebody I met through a synchronistic event, because everything is purposeful, introduced me to astrology, and I didn't know anything about it. I was like, oh, this is amazing. And so I went home that night and I started Googling astrology and just started researching it. And I was doing it until the sun came up because it was like hook, line, and sinker. There was something in my soul that said, this is powerful. This is beautiful. And so in my early 30s, you know the movie A Beautiful Mind when he has all those charts everywhere? So that's what I started doing. I started teaching myself astrology. So I had in my bedroom, I was living at my parents' house, and I had all the signs and all the planets and all these notes, and it looked like a crazy room, right? And I just said to my family, just trust me, like something's happening. I'm learning this. And so I taught myself, and it was actually really easy for me. School was not easy for me because now I understand. I didn't like the systems. It's a lot of BS, right? It's a lot of programming, but I didn't have the words and the concepts when I was younger.
Yes.
So I never wanted to partake in any of that. I just wasn't interested. And so this, for the first time in my life, which happened around 30, my Saturn return, I dove into something that was actually so easy for me and so natural. And then I come to find out later on through this process that I've done this many times. In fact, this is what's so wild. I'm going to share this with you. I haven't really shared this on a podcast yet. I think I lost it in the fire, unless it was at my parents' house. But anyways, I'll have to look for that. I found something from my childhood that I made in like junior high. I think we had to, it was like we were doing like the medieval times, and you had to pick a profession, and then you had to write about it. And so I found this old like scroll, and I even burnt the edges of the paper to make it look, like a theme. And I wrote this whole story out. Now, mind you, I didn't know anything about astrology till I was 30 when I had my awakening. And so I read this from junior high, that I said this whole story, how I was an astrologer and I came from like the northern Italy, I believe, which I actually am a little bit from there. And I'm telling this whole story of how I had this shop and how I would do this at night and I would see the stars. And meanwhile, I'm probably just channeling a whole past life because I showed it to my family. I'm like, did you remember this? And they're like, no. And I'm like, I don't even remember doing this either. So the whole point of this is I've done this many lifetimes. It just came back to me. And now I use it as a tool along with other things I do to help people understand their truth, timing of events, cycles, patterns, and repetition, because everything repeats itself really. So,
And you bring up a really good point. If people haven't gone through boxes at their parents' house filled with any papers from their childhood, I think they're really great tools for our adult map. Because I found when I moved into a particular apartment in Beverly Hills, my mom and my dad came and helped me moved in. It was in my late 20s. And as we were moving in, my mom said, you drew this house in fifth grade. Do you remember that? And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, you're right. Because I wrote a book for school and I drew
yeah,
my dream house. And I ended up moving into a building that looked just like that house. And it's
exactly.
really supportive, I think, especially in these moments, because everyone's going to have it where you suddenly feel lost again,
Hmm.
or you can't find your path. It's that moment of void. I
Yeah,
feel like when you're in the void where you don't know the next move to make, you don't even know what's percolating in your heart, like you're just in the
yeah,
void. And I find that's when you need to find those old papers that connect you to the authentic version of yourself.
the
And it
truth.
kind
Yeah.
of helps you find your path again or your joy again.
Absolutely. I love that you had that. And I have when I was younger, I always told my family, I'm like, I'm going to buy a 1-story Spanish style house with arches in front. Like that was my dream always. And then in Florida here, the first house I bought was that. And then I showed my family, and my dad, who's not a spiritual person, said to me, that's the house that you've always said since you were a kid. And I'm like, I know, I think that's why I have to buy it. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's really wild and it's supportive. And so it plays with that idea that there are some things in life that we can create, that we can manifest, that we can have a vision and take action towards. But then there's that divine timing. There are things in our life and in our charts that we can't fight. That is the plan, whether we like it or not, or know it or not.
Yes.
I feel
Beautiful
like
topic that I love so much. Yes.
that is like the deeper part of the experience that's almost like the torture. But I think it's maybe just how we're supposed to look at it, that it's really just divine timing, and maybe it's there for us to learn about faith.
I mean, there's so much I can say about divine timing. There's a lot of things that we can shift and change, and we have a lot of free will. I mean, that's why we're here. And a lot of it is our beliefs and our programming. You know, that has a lot to do with how we're moving through life and how we're perceiving. And also, you know, this is something I've been sharing. So I've been doing this now going on 17 years. So this is not my first rodeo. You know, I'm not an accountant. Like if you ask me about accounting, I'm not going to be able to help you with that. But there are certain things that I know to be true because I've experienced it, and my channel and my connection. And this is my world. I was early 30, I don't know if it was like 31 or so. So about 16, 17 years ago, Spirit showed me that for me and my partner, like my true partner, it was going to be later in life for me. And now that was a very tough pill to swallow. And let me tell you, I had many temper tantrums, you know, internal, external. I was very frustrated. But I know the things that Spirit tells me, and I just knew that this was part of my path. And it doesn't mean I haven't dated, it doesn't mean I haven't fallen in love, it doesn't mean I haven't had experiences that were beautiful and powerful and meaningful to my soul journey. But in terms of me with getting married, if that's what I choose, and having like the husband, that was always going to be later in life for me. And they also told me, and this is a sensitive subject, but I'm sharing this because everyone has a different path. They also told me that children for me, or a child, is going to be later in life for me. And they told me not to freeze my eggs. Now, that wasn't something I was ever considering. I'm to each their own, you know, whatever anyone wants to do. But for me, that's just not my path. And they even showed me that, and they were kind of laughing at me. They're like, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine. And I was like, oh yeah, I wasn't going to do that anyways. And recently, Spirit actually just told me exactly when that's going to be for me. So why am I sharing this with you? Everyone has a different path. And I think it's really important that we can't compare, because if you go on social media and you see people, it's very easy to compare and be like, why not me? Why them? But also, and this is no shade, this is just reality. I've seen so many people get engaged and get married and be like, oh, this is what I did to meet my husband. And then a couple years later, they're divorced. And that happens. And I don't think that was a failed relationship. I think that was also important for their journey. So there's, you know, I have respect for that as well. But my point is, just because someone, like, let's use the, marriage or dating, just because someone's in a relationship doesn't mean that they did something better than someone that's not in one. Okay. And I think that's what society likes to believe and likes to project. And everyone has a different path. And there are some people where maybe they just worked on loving themselves a little bit more and their heart was open, and then they met someone, and that's beautiful. And then there's people that can feel like they've been working on themselves, and they love themselves, and they're so grounded in themselves, and still haven't met that match, right? It doesn't mean that they're doing anything wrong. It's just a timing. And it's not easy. It takes a lot of faith. We were talking about that before. I'm in a different place now. You know, I've spent many holidays, many Christmases, many New Year's, many birthdays, especially in my 30s, crying and feeling very sad about myself. Like openly, I'll share that, and crying in my bed. And there was one Christmas that I was alone and I didn't get out of bed. I think I was like 34, and I was like really deep in my journey, and my path was very lonely, and I didn't get out of bed till about noon, and I was so sad and I felt so lonely. And now my life is not like that. Even though I'm not with my husband, my life is filled with so much community and so much love. And if I didn't have that, I make the dinner parties, I invite people over, I create the life that I wanted, whether I have the partner or not, right? So, it's a journey to that. And it does take a lot of faith and strength. For me, I just know they've showed me a lot. They now showed me when I'm going to have my kid. They showed me exactly, which is between me, and I'm not sharing that publicly, but they showed me exactly. I already know roughly what my partner looks like. I've seen him. Other people have seen him too, and everyone intuitive sees the same thing. I trust enough that it might not be the easiest path, but it's what our soul chose. And my journey through life has not been that easy, right? On the outside, someone might see me and be like, oh, you have whatever, everything. And no, what I've had to do to get here and the frequencies and the dimensions I've had to climb and what I've had to shift internally. When I was in my 30s, I would say I'm going through so much and shifting and moving exponentially, but like, it's nothing I could post on Facebook, right? This was years ago. And I'm like, it's not like I bought a house. It's not like I got a new car. I didn't do any of that stuff in my 30s. But I moved mountains internally and in ways that some people won't even do in several lifetimes. And it's not a competition. It's just that's what my journey was. So I had to come and make peace with the fact that this is my journey. This is what my soul chose. And to be honest, I wouldn't be happier any other way. I wouldn't have been happy if I got married young and let's say I had a bunch of kids and I didn't have this purpose and this calling. And that's not to say that someone else that gets married young, that might be their calling. And there might be their purpose to have 5 kids. Like everyone is a different journey. So I think we have to get very real with ourselves of what feels good to me, not what society says. And that doesn't mean I don't want a partner. That doesn't mean I'm not here for love. I'm here for all of that. It's just in my own soul path.
I think that's where it gets challenging and hard, right? And when we turn oftentimes to our astrological birth chart because we are looking for answers.
Yeah.
Where do I need to go to meet him? What do I need to be doing to meet him? Or what is the next step I need to take in my career? How do I need to evolve personally? Kind of all the answers we often will turn to an astrologer to get guidance.
Yes.
So when we're working with an astrologer, when are we supposed to take what we're hearing about our chart and trust the astrological timing versus just trust the divine timing?
Well, I think they're connected because, even if I didn't just share that whole story, if I just go to the astrological part of it, there is divine timing with the transits coming in. We're creatures of habit. We don't really move unless something comes and triggers us for the most part, right? And that's what transits do. They're planets in the sky. And when they come around, they activate planets in your birth chart, that signifies timing and cycles for us. So on the exterior 3D, it could look like a move, it could look like a marriage, it could look like a divorce, it could look like a baby, but also energetically and spiritually, we're shifting and we're evolving internally as well. So it's like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Nobody knows, right? But they're all connected. In timing, you could see a lot of that in the chart. And then also I've seen that there's timing that doesn't show every single thing in the chart because it's our free will and how we move. I remember talking to someone many years ago, and I saw Uranus coming to Venus in her chart. And that, I like to understand, one, are they single? Are they in a relationship? Are they having trouble in the relationship? I like to see where they're at because that energy is going to play out very differently depending on their life and their consciousness. Now, she already told me that they were having problems and Uranus was coming by. And I'm like, to me, I knew that this was probably going to be a divorce. And so I gracefully, I'm not just going to tell someone that, right? We talk about it. We see where they're at. And it's for me and any astrologer to judge their consciousness and what they're able to receive at the moment, right? So that's a really important concept. So we did talk about it and she was like, no, we're working on things. So great. I'm not here. You're steering the wheel, right? So I'm just here to guide. I knew what was going to happen though, but she came back later and said, you're right. I tried to make it work for 6 months or a year. And then ultimately we ended up getting a divorce, right? So I say that because we have free will. Like we can hold on to something, we can resist something and we drag things out, and maybe we need to drag things out because our soul's just not ready yet, right? And so The divine timing is very flexible. But I do see the cycles in astrology, and then I do see the cycles with our own free will. So it's both. But, I'm an astrologer that above all, I don't check my chart every single day. You know what I check? I check my soul. I tune in. I definitely look at my cycles. I understand like what's overall happening, but I'm not someone that's going to look at everything because I trust my connection to source over the chart, right? That's just going to back up and support it.
When do you think people should reach out to an astrologer and get a reading? Is it for their birthday?
Yeah.
Is it for yearly tune-up? What do you
If you're definitely, yearly tune-up is a beautiful way. If you're someone that is looking for all the answers and you're looking to not take responsibility, then I don't think someone should get a reading. I love working with people that say, okay, this is what's going on in my life. Like I'm confused. This is not working. I want guidance. I want high level perspective so that I can move to this, in a way, or I can stop fighting something that I'm fighting against. So I love that. So it really depends. Yearly is beautiful. If you're going through major crisis, really important. I looked at my chart after the fire and it's like, oh yeah, you never know exactly what's going to happen, but I had 3 major things activating and I'm like, oh yeah, okay, there you go. So you can see, but the thing with astrology is it's not exact prediction, because going back to what I said before, it really depends on what's going on in the person's life and their consciousness and awareness. So you can see themes and you can see timing, but sometimes it's like very clear, it's like something comes to the moon, Uranus comes to the moon, there might be a move, you're going to be out of your house for a while, you might be traveling. But you never know exactly it's going to play out. Someone could just be like, oh, they had a flood, or there was an earthquake and they had to renovate, or, oh, they went traveling so they weren't home, and then someone else's house could have burned down, right? So it's like you never know exactly how it's going to play out, and that depends on our soul and our journey.
I'd love to know, for when you do end up with your person and you guys decide to get married, what tools are you going to use to choose your wedding date? Are you going to use astrology? Are you going to use numerology?
Yeah.
Who are you going to turn to choose that right date?
Definitely. That's me. I'm going to be like, okay, if you want to propose, you have a window here. We're not doing this during Venus retrograde, Mercury retrograde. It's not happening. And if you ask me, I'm going to say no. But whoever I'm with is going to love that about me because they're going to understand that, they don't need to be doing it, but this is a package deal, right? It's like someone that comes with a dog, with a child, I'm come with astrology. So this is a package deal. So, I do think it's very important, and it's very beautiful. And if you have the awareness, you want the moon favorable. You want some astrologers don't like Saturn, but I like Saturn if it's in a trine and it's positive aspect to Venus or something. I really love that because that's longevity, right? So there's a bunch of different aspects you can look at, but I would definitely be looking at that.
When you say you want the moon in a positive place, do you want the moon waxing or waning?
Well, you don't want the moon void, of course. Of course, you want it applying. It depends. It depends on what sign it's in. It depends on what it's doing. I would prefer it waxing instead of waning, but it really there's a couple of different factors. So it really depends on the whole chart.
So find a trusted astrologer to help you and guide you on that date.
Yeah, and I tell people, I say, listen, we just had Venus retrograde, and I'm like, this is going to be controversial, and I know some of you are going to get triggered, but I would not be getting engaged or married during this time. And here's the thing I want to say with this. It doesn't mean it's doom or gloom. It absolutely does not. It's just you want the planet of love. Let's say we're talking about Venus. You want the planet of love in its full expression. You don't want it confused, a little wonky, backwards. When I see people getting married or engaged during that, it just shows me that there's karmic energy. And that might be for the highest soul. So I'm not going to freak out. If someone does get married, okay, that's exactly what their soul needs. It's a redo in many ways. So there could be some things that they have to work out. I find with retrogrades, we might not see it right away, but we always see it later on. And again, it's not like it's horrible. It doesn't mean everyone's going to get a divorce. It just means, okay, they might need to really work on their communication and that might be hard for them. Right? But that's really the sticking point in their relationship or whatever it is. So it's not doom or gloom. I don't like to live my life or practice astrology that way, but I do like things to be favorable. And listen, I think every astrologer is different. That's where I said I kind of do my own astrology. I use my intuition. There's nothing in the chart that's going to be like, this is horrible, because whatever it is, it's for your highest good. Like me even losing my place and all my stuff, for my highest good, lessons that come out of this. So, I don't teach astrology that way.
I have found that many astrologers have their practices lined up every year for their birthday. The different astrologers have studied with different people. They have their routines, their traditions, their spiritual practices that they always do kind of for their birthday every year to kind of set the energy for their year ahead. Do you have particular traditions or practices that you like to do or ones that you share with your clients when they have a birthday reading?
Yeah. Well, for me, I feel like every day is a ritual, and that's how I live my life. This year I wasn't really going to do anything for my birthday, and I was really at peace with that. And it was kind of like, I just wanted to be with my soul in silence, and that's how I live my life. So I do look at my solar charts, my solar return, my solar arc. I do look at some other charts to kind of see the year ahead, but I also, again, the way I live my life is it's me and my channel, me and my soul, me and God, me and the creator. I'm also now celebrating more of my Hebrew birthday. That's really special to me. So I think it just really depends. But if somebody wants to do ritual, sure, there's charts that you could pull up to kind of see the year ahead and the transits, but I don't love going too far ahead because it takes us out of the moment. Again, I'm an astrologer that's going to tell you things very different from a lot of people. And that's just how I work, because again, it's the creator source. First and foremost, astrology is a tool. Astrology is an incredible tool, but my soul tells me what to do. So again, I do things differently.
Are there any particular practices that you're doing daily or weekly right now that are really supporting you?
Yes, which is something that's really hard for a lot of people, is sitting in silence with your soul. And if you ask people to do that, people don't want to. They're like, oh, I need music. I need this. I need someone guiding me. And I understand that. We're all in different places. But I find the most powerful thing is when I just sit in silence and I'm sitting in my energy and I'm connecting and I can feel the subtle body around me. If I have a mirror in front of where I am meditating, about 10 minutes in, sometimes I will open my eyes and stare in the mirror, and then I can see my aura and I will just gaze, and then I start seeing clairvoyant images. I start asking questions. So I like to sit with my soul, and that's because that has all the answers, It's to me, it's beautiful. So
do you have a particular morning routine that you do for your spiritual practice, or evening routine, or do you kind of just listen to yourself and flow with the day?
Yeah, I listen to myself, which is different all the time. So it depends on how much sleep I got. It depends on the kind of mood I'm in. And so I say that, and here's the thing. I understand that this is my life. This is my purpose. This is my career. This is my daily life. So for me, it's not something that I'm never not going to do. But I understand that, people work, they have kids, they're busy. They're just trying to integrate. So for someone else, I would say, yes, have some kind of ritual that's the same thing every morning that anchors you in. You're starting the day from that place, from this beautiful energetic space, versus starting like getting crazy and running around and feeling busy. So important. For me, I know that I'm talking to my soul all day. Like through the fire, they were directing me and telling me what to do, So for me, it's like it's how I live my life. So it's like a non-negotiable, so I mix it up, and like maybe it's at night, maybe it's in the middle of the day, maybe it's all throughout the day, But for someone else that's definitely just starting out, I say, practice sitting with yourself, practice sitting with your soul. And if that's hard for you, then let's look at that, right? What you feel like you need to do everything. You feel like you're not getting the information you need, because it's not actually about getting the information you need. It's about actually becoming a clear antenna. So throughout the day, then you can magnetize, then you can be the clear antenna, then you can hear things when they need to come through. So I would say start even with 5 minutes in the morning. You would be surprised. 5 minutes of intentional communication with your soul is more than most of the world is doing. And that is so beautiful, right? And then you move up, and then you'll get to a place where it's like, oh, I just feel so good to sit with my soul. It feels so good. And I want to be that. So just start 5 minutes. Everyone's busy. I understand that. It's real life.
What do you like to do to support your body so you can be a clear channel, so you can
Okay.
hear the messages, right? Because we all know
Okay.
when we eat processed food or a lot of sugar, it numbs us out. It stops us from hearing ourselves or getting the answers naturally. So what
Yeah.
do you do to keep clean?
Okay. Well, how much time do we have?
Yeah.
Because, and I love that you asked that. Let's start here. This is not a belief. This is me understanding my body over the many years, now 46, almost 47 years of understanding my body. The more work I've done spiritually, the more sensitive my body becomes. My frequency is very light overall. This is why my podcast and my membership and my brand is called Cosmic Body. I had Lyme disease, and through Lyme, I realized of how the mind-body connection and the spiritual connection and the cosmic connection is our entire physical being. So that being said, I do have a very strict diet, and I do that over the years. You know, if you would have asked me in my 20s if I would have eaten like this, I would have been like, absolutely not, because I was like binge eating and I loved to eat sugar and I was addicted to sugar. But over the years, as you evolve, you literally can't tolerate that frequency because it's a frequency and it's not a match. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say I don't ever cheat. I do, but my cheat days are still healthier than most because my body can't tolerate it. So I don't personally drink, not because I'm so almighty, but because my body doesn't like it. And I usually break out in welts and I can't get out of bed for days. When I'm in Europe, though, I could have a glass of wine. I also eat bread nonstop in Europe, and I lose weight and lose inflammation, and I come back great. So there's that. I have a very strict diet. I don't eat processed food. I don't have sugar. If I do have sugar, it's coconut sugar. So it's not, processed. It's not the best, but I don't have like artificial sugar. After this, I'm actually going in the hyperbaric chamber. So I've been doing that twice a week. I do IV ozone. I have an amp coil, which is a pulse electromagnetic device for frequency. I do coffee enemas. I do water fast. Water fast has been the most amazing thing to rest your digestive tract, and so that your body can process, to help with my immune system. The list can go on and on and on. I try to get the morning sun. I wear blue blockers at night. There's so many things. And to me, this is just the way I live my life. I could never be with someone that doesn't live some kind of aligned, healthy lifestyle. It would never work, ever, ever. I wouldn't even tolerate it because I can't be around that, So yes, I take care of my body. It's my channel. It has become a devotion at this point. It's definitely not an obsession. When I was younger, I did have an eating disorder. I struggled with that because I didn't actually know how to process my emotions. So I was about 21. And so I went to a clinic and I learned. Then I had my awakening at 30. So that is not a problem anymore. At this point, it's just devotion because I want to feed my body beautiful things. And, I actually did a DNA test where not about like where you're from, but like your genes and everything. And the guy that was reading it, we were going over, he knew the work I do. And he said to me, well, he found out the work that I do. And he said to me, okay, I can see why you do the work you do, because he said, I've actually never seen someone so sensitive. And he's like, other people could have cheat days. He's like, but your body actually won't allow it. I have MTHFR gene mutations. I don't think that's everything an excuse, but my body processes slowly. So like if someone else ate a Big Mac, they could probably be okay. Honestly, I would be dead for weeks at a time. So it's not even like in my head. It's like actually, I've experimented enough to know what my body can. And then you just know that you're feeding higher vibrations. So food to me is incredibly important. I'm a Taurus. I love to eat. I don't feel like I'm ever starving by any means. I like creating. I'm not like a chef by any means, but when I have time, I like to experiment, and I like to play with that. I would love to hire you to cook for me, please, because that's what I would like, because I love food and I know there's so many options out there, even for people that are sensitive. So, I mean, we can talk about that for 20 more years, and I know to some people that might feel extreme, everything I said, but what I want people to understand is this didn't happen overnight. This has been a progression. I've learned about myself. I've learned about my soul. I've learned about my body as a vessel for light. I've learned about my body as a cosmic body. I've learned how it's my channel. I've seen how when I ate like shit, how I couldn't even think. When I was sick with Lyme, I couldn't even send an email because I was so much brain fog. My brain fog was so bad when I was at my prime of Lyme that I didn't even remember my address. I mean, it's scary. And I didn't even know how to look at a birth chart. Like I didn't know what it meant, So I've experienced very severe reactions, if you could say, of that. So for me, feeling good is the most important thing. That's it. End of story. And, we were even talking, I'm in a good place after the fire, mentally, emotionally. I would say my physical body just is a little slower. And so it's still tired a lot from the shock and the trauma. And then it was like violent, right? So I'm just resting and allowing my body. And I think that's another thing to say is I just listen to my body and I allow. So if you don't hear anything else from this podcast, please listen to that. My body tells me what it needs. I can now hold supplements or anything in my hand. I could even look at it and I just tune in and I know exactly if it's going to be good for me, or if it's a yes or no, because I have that relationship and I built that over time. So.
Yeah, when I sat down for my meditation the other night, I meditate in the morning and before bed. And just the moment I sat down, opened myself up, the first thing I heard was the answer is outside, in nature, offline. And that's what I just kept saying over and over again, which is also what I needed to hear, that I didn't need to keep going out trying to find somebody else to help my physical, emotional, spiritual, and mental body recharge. That what I need right now is actually to do nothing and just
Yes.
outside in nature and to just let the plants and the sunshine and the waves and the air and everything that is just in our natural elements that's free to do its job with my body, to reset the nervous system, to recharge me, to fill me with light. And then I can go out into this new season of life with the energy that I need. But I think, it's really easy to get caught up thinking that there's somebody out there or something out there that can do it for us. And sometimes it's actually just doing nothing but getting outside.
And that's exactly, if we go back to when you asked what I do, I don't have all these tools and these tips and tricks and these fancy things. I don't need crystals around me. Great if they are. I don't need that. I've been saying this for 16 years. I don't need any of the theatrical stuff. It's just me and my soul. And that is a really hard thing for people to want to accept, because I get it. We're busy. Everyone's resisting. And it's like, no, I want you to tell me this crystal is, I'm going to get this crystal, then I'm going to make money, or I'm going to get this crystal and I'm going to find love. And it's all intention, but you can charge yourself to be that crystal with intention as well. So exactly. It goes back to, when I was living in Miami on the ocean, I would go down in the lounge chairs and everyone outside was partying, but I would just put my headphones in and just be in front of the ocean. And that's where I would get my most amazing downloads. Like, oh my God, just the ocean just would bring everything to me. So yeah.
Yeah, I definitely try to fight it. As I talked to you before, I'm flying out to go and see Dr. Scott Robinson and sit on some frequency machines and get a really good recharge. And even he tells me sometimes that, he has all these machines, it's fun to use, but he is always told by God and his source that no matter what, he can buy all the machines in the world, but he always has to maintain his authentic natural practice with his body and his hands, because sometimes there will be times when these machines don't work, when there isn't electricity, when all he has is his self. And that's what he'll need for his own work and for the work for his community and his clients. So it's like, no matter what, like for me as a chef, I can have all these cool tools, but I always have to know how to cook with just a knife and natural fire.
Very true. And that's a real chef. That's why, I could follow a recipe to the T, but I'm like, I'm not a natural in the kitchen because that's not my craft. Do you know what I'm saying? So absolutely. And just to kind of back up what you were saying, there are tools for a reason to help us. So things help us. One time when I was running my amp coil and for mold, when I was very sick, the mold was literally coming out my skin after I was using it. And so it was an amazing tool because it was a frequency device. So I'm not saying that we just sit on a mountaintop and don't engage with anything. We have these tools to help us.
Yes.
But it's a balance, because what happens is people go so crazy in biohacking. I saw this, I'm going to say this. I was at the biohacking conference years ago, like 2 years ago in LA, and it was great. And I was looking around, and you know what was coming through? I was like, people are biohacking everything, but they're still not accessing their emotions. They're still not. They're doing everything else, but nobody is sitting here with the emotional body. And I'm like, you can't pass that. So it's a balancing act. I'm all for using things. I'm going in the hyperbaric chamber.
Yeah.
But you cannot expect all that if you're not in that alignment. And I like to call it locked and loaded. I'm locked and loaded.
How do you choose a hyperbaric place to go to? Because you've lived in LA, you've lived in Florida.
Yeah.
How do you source a safe place to go to?
Well, this one is, I don't know the right terminology, so you'll have to excuse me, but it basically can't blow up. This one. There's some that have, and I don't know what it is. It's either like I don't want to say the engine. I'm not using the right word. I'm sorry. It's just something it's not coming to me. But safety is important, because there was a kid that just died recently in a hyperbaric chamber because it exploded and it blew up. But it's not possible in this one. So you have to ask, like, how is it run? What kind of machine is it? I think the hard chambers are better than the soft ones that blow up. They're just stronger. But in terms of that, I wouldn't say I'm a professional on that. I don't know if I know exactly the answer. I've just done enough to know that the fact that this one cannot blow up makes me feel safer.
What are the benefits that you receive within the same day, 24 hours, a week after you go?
So I originally started this after I got my implants removed, that my doctor put me in that to speed up the healing. So that was years ago. And kind of just did it every once in a while from there. But after the fire, since I had to go back to my place, and so since half of my place burned and then the other half didn't, but it was filled with black mold, I was exposed again to mold. And so then when I got to Florida, I just knew my body was not okay. I was getting patches on my back, patches on my face. I reignited a lot of the mold and the Lyme that was in me. And so I was like, okay, I found this place and I'm going to go. And at first I said, I don't actually know if it's doing anything, but I'm going to give it a shot. And I have to say that it's pushing a lot of things out. So I'm getting a lot of Herx reactions. Yeah. So Lyme is a slippery slope. When you have Lyme, you have mold, you have parasites, you have Candida, you have Epstein-Barr. It's all connected, And so there's a lot of things. So I'm getting actually a lot of rashes on my body since I've been doing the hyperbaric, but that's how I know it's working, because it's actually flooding oxygen to my cells. And so it's actually releasing what was trapped in my body. And I have to say, I deal with a lot with inflammation. And since I've been going twice a week, I feel like I'm getting more back to myself. And I don't wake up inflamed, because it's been very normal over the past couple of years where I just wake up and I'm just puffy all throughout the day. I mean, I'm definitely puffy now in the morning, like people, my lymph is slow, but not like it was. So the fact that I feel like I'm actually back to kind of my old self again, and the fact that I'm actually herxing a lot, and having reactions, I got to keep going because it's doing something and it's pushing. So I'm kind of in the middle of like the not so pleasant part, but I'm going to keep pushing through. Just the fact that my inflammation is better, which means oxygen is coming to my cells. And so my cells and my blood and everything is moving. That to me says everything I need to know about what it's doing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one practice that I haven't tried yet that I've really wanted to, is to do hyperbaric on a consistent basis, just to see what it can move out of my body.
Yeah. I would be curious if like someone's not struggling with something, like if what they would see. I'm definitely seeing things now, but I'm also, my body is dealing with a lot, you know?
Yeah, the nervous system is the most interesting one to try to calm. I was just talking with one of my sous chefs today because we're both struggling with just a lot of physical pain after
Oh,
days of work. And
yeah,
it's how do you do the work that you love and be able to wake up the next day to do it again
right.
when you have a really physically active job. So we're trying to figure out the solution. Is it our nervous system? You know, there's only so much fascia work we can do, stretching we can do, yoga,
Yeah.
infrared sauna, and you can't do all those things because then it's actually exhausting you more. So I'm trying to sit with, okay, what do I need to be doing for my nervous system or for my body that's gentle to help recalibrate it so I can get up and go almost like I used to, like when I was younger, but I don't need to be younger
Mm,
and do it
yeah.
that same way. It's a really interesting kind of game that I'm trying to figure out. And I know there's a solution and it'll come to me. And it'll
Yeah,
come
and
to me soon.
perhaps that's happening because it's wanting your business to shift a little bit, and maybe you need to pivot um, and create something different that would serve you more.
Yeah, that's what keeps coming up too.
That's
But no,
what's coming through. So, anyways, I
yeah.
wanted to share. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
something has to evolve
yeah,
because otherwise the body will tell you.
yes.
Um, the body will tell you and you can't fight it.
And there's a phase for everything, and there's a timing for everything. You know, I don't do readings like I used to do. I pop them up for my membership when I'm available. But it's few and far between because I can't work like that anymore. It's even though I'm not cutting and standing, I'm energetically inside of their body and I'm feeling what they're feeling, and it's too much for me and I can't function. So, I stopped all that when I got diagnosed with Lyme, and I had to learn to create better boundaries. And when I say boundaries, I'm actually someone that's very good at saying no. So I didn't understand that first. But what Lyme showed me and Spirit showed me is that even though I was saying no, and I'm very good about that, my body is so open energetically. So my body was still taking on. So it's like my mental and my body were separate. And so it's been this journey of bringing it back and learning how to work in divine union with that.
Is there something that you like to do before you leave the house or when you come home to shield yourself or energetically clear yourself after you've been around a lot of people and you can still feel the heaviness of that?
Yeah. So, if I'm in like a real danger and it's like really dark energy, I will definitely put a shield around me. But overall, I don't really believe in that because energy is energy. Yes, there's intention. So it's a slippery slope because everything is intention. The universe is run on intention. Okay. So I will intend for that, but we can't really stop energy. Everything is moving through. So when I come back, I definitely release. I ask anything that's not mine be sent back to whoever with love. You don't need to know who it is. And then I always replace and refill. I like to take salt baths for my ritual, maybe put your feet in the grass. But, it's very subtle. We can leave somewhere and all of a sudden be depressed and we think it's ours and it's not actually ours at all. So I'm very clear that whenever I leave, oh, I have a very interesting story for you. I was with, this is just shows about energy. We had a dinner party here with my family, and my mom's friends were over, and there was a woman that I grew up with. I haven't seen her in a while, but I grew up with her. She's known me since I was a baby. She's going through a lot. So I was with her, and then all the people at the dinner party. And then the next day I was actually really depressed. And I was like, what's going on? Because like, I'm not depressed, nothing happened, and I barely could get out of bed. And I just felt very weird. And I thought it was actually one of my other friends that I talked to that also was going through stuff. So I tried to clear her energy, but it really didn't go away until the next day. And then someone was emailing me or messaging me, and they called me the woman's name instead of my name that I was with. And I said, it clicked. I'm like, oh my God, because her energy field is on top of me. So that person thought it was actually, it starts with a D as well. So I was like, oh my God, like, listen, I miss it all the time. Like, I'm not perfect. I'm a human, right? And that one I didn't see coming at all, but her field was so on top of mine. And I think, that she was like wanting to talk to me and wanting to understand more about what I do. And so the minute I realized, oh my God, it's her energy, I asked Spirit to remove it, send it back to her with love, replace it. And I swear to God, I felt better. So it happens all the time. Like, I'm not perfect. I'm not, sure, I'm psychic, you're psychic, but like, I don't see everything, We can't always see everything.
Such an important point, because I really want to help people understand this, that there are so many elements that control how we feel when we wake up in a day.
Yes.
Our food, our diet, our lifestyle, how we spent the day before, how we slept, timelines, emotional things that we're working out, other people's stuff.
Yes.
And this, I think the more we talk about it, it's really interesting and supportive for people, because that's very much why I became a chef. Is I couldn't figure out why some days I wake up and I feel great and some days I couldn't get out of bed. And I wanted to get to the root cause, and I felt like I could heal myself with food if I knew the proper way to nourish myself with food. But what happened to me this summer was I was crying every single day. I was really sad about someone who broke up with me, but like I've never cried about a breakup before, and it was every single day, and I wasn't moving forward. So I decided to go to someone I've never gone to before and kind of just get an energetic tune up. And the first 30 minutes of the session, everything that was coming up had nothing to do with me. It was all his.
Wow. Yep.
Every question she asked me, I was like, nope, I'm not related to a person who did that, but I know someone who did. It wasn't me.
Yes.
And it was really interesting how much we can spend time with other people, and it can affect all the layers of us.
That's a powerful example. And that's why you have to be really careful when people are intimate with people. Like, you think it's just, oh, fun night. No, you're taking on a lot of energy. Yeah. I was celibate for a very long time to be in my own field, and that's exactly what I needed to do. And that's why I can hear so much, and that's why I can sense so much, because I don't have interference with like randos, and like people that don't value me or love me, like I did when I was younger,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, even when you think you're taking the time to consciously choose to be with someone who will value you and love you, it can still shift.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
It's a wild game. And I feel like we're living through a really interesting time with everyone's energetic field, people becoming more spiritually and psychically aware. I feel like timelines are, every night I go to bed, I don't know what's going to happen. It's just a very interesting time right now.
We have no idea. At the end of 2024, I did a post on Instagram and I said, listen, you can think 2025 is going to be your best year. And I actually encourage you to think that and to believe that, because we want to be in positive, beautiful energy. And also, what's going to happen is going to happen, and it's not going to be on your bingo card. And I reposted after the fire, after I lost everything. I was like, remember I said this? And I'm like, you never know what's going to happen, and you just got it. That's the thing. So much is going on in the world. We are in the most pivotal time. Everything is shifting so much. And if you don't have a strong foundation for yourself, you're going to be wrecked. There's no other way to say it. If I didn't have this connection to my soul and this trust and faith, I lost everything I own. Gone. So I would have been wrecked. And while I did grieve, and I did have to process, because that was the normal human thing to do, because I'm a human being, I still knew I'm going to be okay. And I am okay. And, I'll figure it out as I go, because I have that connection to my soul. And that ultimately is my work. Like, yes, I teach astrology, but ultimately my work is about the soul and your connection. Because if you don't have that, I feel really bad. I hope people that went through the fire have some kind of connection, whether it's God, whether it's religion, or something to carry them through, because I think there's a lot of people that didn't have that. And this is their earth school. This is their classroom right now. So they're going through it, And I know that I was able to move through a lot quicker, because I still trust, and I know.
Well, where would you like for people to connect with you so they can keep learning with you? And how do you like to work with clients right now?
Yeah, so you can follow me on Instagram. I am Danielle Paige, Paige. I have a membership that I would love you to join. It's a lower price point. I wanted to make it reasonable and practical for everyone. It's called Cosmic Body Collective. And you basically have me in your back pocket. I call it a gym membership for your soul, because our lives are created by habits every day. So it's me popping into the app every day, sharing stuff. You have meditations, you have talks, you have discounts by me, you have my downloads, you have special guests, you have so many things that I'm offering so that I'm in your back pocket and we're walking through life together.
Which is so supportive. It's community,
Yes. Yeah. And we actually just added a community section in there as well.
Yeah, it's finding your spiritual community. And I'm sure you and I have both been in the same space where, as we've been working on ourselves over the past 20, 30 years and having all these spiritual experiences, you kind of had to have it on your own. There is it was the secret side of my life.
Yep.
Everyone was going out on a Friday night. I was going to restorative yoga and then was going to be meditating at home.
Oh my God, why weren't we friends then? I was literally crying in yoga class and Kundalini yoga by myself, and then would go home.
Yeah, it's just a different time. And it didn't matter if I lived in LA or New York or where I was, even in the most spiritual places. It's a solo mission sometime.
Yes.
But we still need to meet other like-minded friends to remember we aren't alone, and to talk through our dreams and our physical experiences and our emotional experiences and everything in between. Because, it's supposed to be fun. It's not supposed to be all hard work, doing heavy. It gets to be fun.
It does get to be fun. And that is something I had to learn, because it was not fun for me in my 30s. But my 40s have been, even though I've had a lot going on, they've been great, because I am more in love with myself than I've ever been. And that's just that.
Good. Well, I'd love for you to leave maybe one more health, wellness, or astrological tip that you could share with the listeners today.
On anything specific, or?
No, just one little tip that they can consider adding into their life.
Well, from astrology, I think it's really important. Your North Node, everyone should know their North Node. That is one of the most important things. Your North Node in your chart is your soul's evolutionary journey. It's one of the main reasons why you incarnated in this lifetime, and that's the direction that you're learning and growing and opening up to. So if you ever feel lost, I always say, go back to your North Node. What is it asking of you? Now, people might know their North Node mentally. Like if I read something to them or told them about their North Node, they'd be like, oh yeah, that's right. Like I know I'm learning that, but that's one thing. It's another thing to actually be it, to embody it, right? I know my North Node, but I'm moving into it more and more. I'm becoming that frequency. I'm moving into that vibration as I evolve and as I get older. So I would say, look up your North Node, so important in your chart. I even have I call it the Astro Hack, where I hack your birth chart. I have an Astro Hack on the North Node, on Saturn. I have one on Pluto coming up. I have children's charts, the progressed moon. I have a bunch of things on my website. So,
what is your North Node?
Mine is in Libra.
And so when someone sees that their North Node is in Libra, how are they supposed to interpret that as the direction that they're supposed to move for themselves, their evolution, their career?
Well, first of all, you should get my class, because I explain everything. I break all the houses and the signs. So you really, on an advanced level, you want to look at your North Node placement, the house, the sign, and the aspects to it. Okay, but that's advanced. But you can even just start with the sign. So North Node in Libra, that means opposite our North Node is something called the South Node. And our South Node is our deeply ingrained behavioral patterns that we came into this life with. So I'm a South Node in Aries. So I will always have that energy. I'm never going to leave it, but I'm learning to step into this Libra energy, which is a little bit more graceful, which is a little less confrontational, which is a little bit more balanced, which is about relationships, right? So I'm learning relationships because I'm the queen of independence. That's Aries. I'm the queen of leadership, empowerment, right? If you need help with empowerment and leadership, like I'm your girl, like I got you. I came out of the womb like that, right? Oh, I have that. That's a gift, your South Node. But then you want to move into your North Node. So I'm learning relationships. So I'm learning that, I don't just do it all by myself in life, or it's not just me getting on a plane and going somewhere. It's like actually contributing. It's actually connecting. It's the networking. It's the group. It's like, you go farther with people. So that's new for my soul, because I honestly am like, I could be left alone and do my own thing. Like that's just how I am. So I'm learning.
Got it. It's a great tool for people to always lean on.
Yes.
especially I feel like that's the gift of astrology. It's like every few years you check in on your life path.
Oh, yeah, it's the more you evolve, your chart evolves with you because you're seeing it through a new lens. And so there's no like, okay, this is the top of Libra and you're just going to get here at 40. It's not like that. You evolve and your chart evolves with you and you just go into higher iterations of the archetype. It's beautiful.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I know we
Thank
didn't dive
you.
into astrology as much as people may have liked, but I just wanted to learn more about you and the
Thank
practices that
you.
support you, because those are the tools that we can all take away and apply in our own life if it resonates. So thank you
Thank
for
you.
sharing.
Thank you for having me on and beautiful question.